I have produced reports with ChatGPT, and I can tell you, I would write an essay and then see what would happen if I gave it to ChatGPT and said, rewrite it. And I never liked the outcome from ChatGPT, never liked it. Maybe more eloquent than I am, but it just didn't feel like I'm the one who's talking.
Yeah.
And I think that this is what we need, from writers, the personal experience, your presence in the story.
Welcome back to Wise on Air, the show where we talk to the world's leading minds on the future of education. My name is Bassem Hijazi, producer of the show. For 40 years, Professor Munther Dahleh designed control systems for machines, until he realized the most complex system of all was sitting right in front of him: people. While much of the conversation around AI focuses on computational power and algorithmic breakthroughs, our guest today argues that the real challenge lies elsewhere, in understanding people, society, and the complex systems we inhabit. Professor Munther Dahleh is a leading voice in this conversation. As the founding director of MIT's Institute for Data Systems and Society, he has worked to bridge the gap between cutting-edge tech and human understanding. His journey from designing control systems for machines to studying how AI impacts society offers a unique perspective on where we're headed. In his book, Data Systems and Society, Harnessing AI for Societal Good, Munther introduces the concept of the trilingual student, someone equipped with technical expertise, social science understanding, and deep domain knowledge. So join WISE director and host of this episode, Elias Fulfoul, in conversation with Munther as they explore why the next generation of innovators might need to study philosophy as much as programming, and why understanding people could be the most important skill in an age of artificial intelligence.
Tell us about your journey before talking about your books and the work you're doing in artificial intelligence. Just a little bit about your journey, how you ended up in this field and also in the United States.
Oh, okay. Well, in the United States, that's a similar story to a lot of people. Came to study and stayed. It's very simple. I started as a professor at MIT in 1987. So it's been a long time. And MIT is a wonderful place in the sense that you can learn a lot of things. So I am, by training, what we call a control theorist or a decision theorist. So my work is about understanding how to make decisions under uncertainty. I feel like that's the holy grail of everything we do. There's always a decision at the end, and someone has to make it, and we don't always have all the information to make the decision, but yet you have to make a decision. That's sort of the work I've been in. And people ask me, how have you changed? And I say, I haven't. I've been working on the same problem for the last 40 years, decisions under uncertainty, of course, in different ways and different domains and what have you. So initially, I was designing control systems for machines. I was involved in space station control, airplane control systems, automotive control systems. Those are controlling machines. How do you build a feedback control systems to allow a fighter airplane to flip and turn and do all of this interesting stuff? And these algorithmic solutions are at the heart of what we call now artificial intelligence. But we didn't call them artificial intelligence in the 90s. We called them control theory and control systems, right? But we still do the same thing in a more sophisticated way and more tools and by a huge amount of computation that we did not have at that time. At that time, we were limited to what we can do, and now we can do a lot more. But the field is the same. And I moved around I was working on machines, and then I kind of got interested in networks. And that came around the same time when platforms like Facebook and others were coming around. Part of the reason is that now there's a propagation of information between different nodes. Nodes are making decisions, but based on partial information from other nodes that were making these decisions. And so kind of, it's another decision theory of a different type. But now, while we observe from the node a few data points, it's really a person behind it. It's not a data point, and it's not a like or dislike on a Facebook. There's a person behind that. And so I started getting interested into the social aspect of this. What is behind the data that we look at? And it's people's data. And when it's people's data, it's different than machines. And I joke around, and I wrote that in the book, saying that, for the first 20 years of my life, I never cared about people. People were not in my domain of research.
Even from an inspiration
to
the decision
the inspiration obviously
making of the brain.
No, the brain, we were working, in fact I was actually working on motor control systems and inspiration that way, but the behavioral aspect of people wasn't part of what I do. Problems were very well formulated mathematically, and I could just go and solve these mathematical problems. With the platforms and the social networks and all of that, all of a sudden I found this is a whole different domain of decision making. The biggest interest I have, and I have until today, how do I incentivize people to do certain things? Because I can't make people do things. I can make a machine do something. Can I make a person do something? But I can create an incentive for you to do the right thing. So we design control systems for machines, we design incentives for people, and I work in that particular domain. So I moved from social networks to economic networks, started collaborating with people in the social sciences, and I sort of ended up where I am today.
Would you say in this timeline of your journey within kind of the technology field, have you seen the exponential growth every time, or it's been growth, but nothing in comparison with what we've seen today? We're at another level of trajectory.
Yeah, it is a whole chapter that I wrote in the book about a snippet of history, just to put things in perspective. Artificial intelligence has been in the making for almost 7 decades. Okay, and
we have summer and winters and
we have the ups and downs, right? And I remember the days when machine learning was kind of not important anymore because we just didn't have enough data. So neural networks were proposed in the 50s and 60s and 50s, right? And perceptron and how to optimize a network, but we didn't have the data. And so machine learning was there as an interesting mathematical problem, but it wasn't changing our lives. That transformed entirely with the collection of data on the web and people's data and location services and all of that stuff, that just explosion of the data, and machine learning made a jump. And and I talk a lot about how we tackled problems that are difficult for us. What are the difficult problems for us as humans? Games. Games.
Yeah.
Chess is hard.
Yeah. Very hard.
I mean, that's why we play it.
Yeah.
Moving and picking up this cup and putting it down is not hard for us. It's hard for a robot, not for us. But the robot and the machine play games better than us. And so we went into a challenge. Can the machine beat the best chess player? And so those were jumps, in the development of ways in which we had these revered, powerful brains all of a sudden are beaten by these simple machines.
How if it's possible to explain, how do we train? Because my understanding is actually the machine learn by itself.
Correct.
And predict by itself the next potential move. But what's the initial action that the developer or engineer do to lead us to this kind of machine that is operating on its own?
So that's a great question, right? The AlphaGo or the software that beat the best players in chess and Go was an algorithmic kind of jump as opposed to a machine learning problem. So initially with Deep Blue, the sort of the first algorithm that IBM worked on, that was based on machine learning. So you look at a lot of different players and how they play, and you learn. What you want to learn really is, if you look at a configuration of a chess board, what is my best move? That's the sort of the thing you want to learn. Because if you do all the combinatorial possibilities, if I do this, you do that, if I do this, you do that, it's just gigantic. The space is too big to try all possibilities. So you want to have this sort of system that learns, look, for this board, do this, for that board, do that. So that was done by machine learning and did pretty well. The new algorithmic solutions were exactly what you described. You start with some configuration learning.
And then you let it
and
figure
then you
out.
start playing with yourself. So the machine is playing with itself and optimizing against itself. Now, why was that actually incredible? Because humans actually have not tried all the possible configurations.
Yeah.
We got accustomed to these best players to play a certain way. But these machines discovered other regimes. And they started taking the human player into these regimes, and they're not familiar with it. And somehow, beating them every single time, or at least for, more times than you would like,
Yeah.
So it's a self-learning through this reinforcement learning where you are playing against yourself. And that was an interesting idea and a discovery of some sort that also made AI jump a little bit, knowing how we learn. We don't always learn from data. We can also generate our own data to learn from.
That's incredible. That's incredible. So all of this have inspired you essentially to write a book, and the book is Data Systems what's the title of the book?
It's called Data Systems and Society.
And Society. Yeah.
Harnessing AI for Societal Good.
All right.
Is the subtitle.
What do you want to achieve? Because there's so much up right now. Where do you think the book could make a difference?
Yeah, okay, that's really interesting. First of all, I wrote the book after we launched the Institute for Data Systems and Society.
Which is, you're the founder
I was
director.
the founder director.
Okay, so tell us about the center.
Yeah. So that was in 2013, the MIT, we had a committee, and we were looking into expecting this revolution coming. Data was kind of exploding. Machine learning algorithms were becoming really popular. Reinforcement learning has gained some momentum and so forth. So we were looking at this, and the question for us has been more, how do we make sure that every domain at MIT has the capability to utilize this technology? Because it was in the hands of computer science and maybe a few mathematicians and so forth. But really, if you go to, say, civil engineering, are they using AI at that point? Well, a little bit, special. So we wanted the students to be aware. We wanted the faculty to be aware. So the idea for us was to create an institute that unifies this capability across all the different divisions. And that was the vision that we had. We were anticipating a jump, not like necessarily a large language model jump, but a jump of some sort. And we wanted everybody to be on top of it. And so we launched the program, and we call it an institute at MIT. Institutes are cross-disciplinary. They sit within multiple schools. And so I started learning. I mean, this was for me in 2013. I mean, I started, I was already working with social scientists and economists and trying to understand the power of data. I also was working with civil engineers and engineers for many years, right? And mechanical engineers and aero engineers, and I'm an electrical engineer, right? So I've been working with a lot of different people, and I could see the opportunities when it came to engineering systems. Engineering systems, there's a huge opportunity for artificial intelligence. But what about social systems? We're seeing snippets of computational social science emerging, and some people really doing amazing work in that area. So that had to be folded in. And more importantly, the fact that we are designing systems for people meant that computing, engineering, and social sciences and humanity have to come together.
Yeah.
Have to come
the
together.
convergence is very important.
Yeah. And we talk about the trilingual student.
Trilingual student.
Trilingual student. Yeah. So the trilingual student is equipped with the technologies of what I call statistics and information sciences, that how to design and optimize and do all of that stuff, equipped with social sciences and an expert in a domain.
Yeah.
That's
interesting, the social side. Understanding people is at the heart of it now.
It's key, right? Yeah. So we don't understand how important that is for societal questions, right? Societal questions. I mean, if you're flying a rocket, that's not about people. You got to make sure that the rocket flies well, and it's an engineering problem. So I'm not saying every societal challenge is it involves people at an integrated level. Although when you talk about the impact on society and you can bring people back, but the loop is kind of slower. But think about infrastructures. Think about e-commerce platforms. I mean, people are interacting with the platform, and the platform is interacting with agents. And this is happening in real time. I mean, just imagine that Amazon has billion transactions a day. And that's people
with AI, and we don't
with AI and AI with sellers.
Yeah.
And well, how is that managed? And what's going on in there? And to what extent there are some foul play or great play? So it's a question of an integrated question.
Am I right to, based on this observation, am I right to say the importance of such an institute is actually a response to the fact that we have created technologies the last decade or so without necessarily considering the potential impact on people? Is that a right assumption?
Our assumption was to say that we need the technology, first of all, to be in the domains. So that was a driver. And then the integration with social science is to recognize the impact on people, but also people are in the loop with these technologies. So it's not just an impact. So what you're saying is also absolutely true. If you look at the United States history since the Industrial Revolution, social understanding came after the technology development. We were always lagging. When the TV became popular, I mean, I'm old enough to remember, people are saying TV is going to ruin your life.
Yeah.
It's going to ruin your life. You can't read anymore. Everybody's glued to these shows, and and we started adapting. And say, okay, well, there's some requirement time here. You cannot watch TV, so we have rules. And everything that we created has we created the car, and then we had the urban expansion, right? And then we started thinking, wait a minute, we have to kind of do some urban planning. We always lag.
Yeah.
So we wanted to be ahead of the game. It's not easy to be ahead of the game. It's not easy to recognize the impact, the social impact, before the technology is out there, because you don't know what the technology is going to do. Yeah. But we wanted to be positioned to act fast. That this is, as soon as it's out there, we are also equipped to understand its impact and mitigate the risks that come from it.
So the institute and the book is almost the fruit of the work you've been working on.
Yeah, so it took me 10 years as the founding director, and I stepped down. In my 7th year, so that was during the pandemic, I think I had a little bit more time on my hands and so forth. And I decided, I think I want to write a very simple book that describes where we were and what our intellectual vision was about this institute, and why there are exciting and important questions for people to think about. And it's not just about the next LLM, it's a lot broader in solving societal problems. Yeah. But I wanted to write something simple that students can read and get excited about, and also document a little bit of the history that we did. And also I wanted the practitioners to come together in thinking that AI now is also an engineering discipline. And that's very important. That when you are building an AI system, it's kind of like you are building a refinery, or you are building an autonomous car and so forth. They're engineering solutions that just integrate everything around them. And so that was sort of the purpose of me writing the book.
So if we take, I'll take three main, the public good domain. So which is health, education, maybe let's say transportation, or we'll add four, safety and security. Give me your kind of insights into understanding where we're heading when it comes to the impact we're going to have on health, and maybe share with me your optimistic view, but also the thing you're worried about.
Okay, that's interesting. So those are critical domains that you described, and we are, as you said, we We used to say what will happen, and now we're describing what is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real thing, right? These fields are transforming. They're changing. And there's a lot to gain, so much to gain from AI. And AI, let's just be clear about our definition of AI. A piece of AI is learning, like machine learning. And then there's a piece of AI is automation and algorithmic solution. And then there's another piece now that has become, which is generative, you know? Not that generative is new, but generative is now done at a bigger scale. You know, always had generative AI. So all of these areas can be incredible in terms of what you can do, and you can pick any one of these fields. You know, you can talk about healthcare and simple things like a machine can read X-rays so well.
Yeah.
It's going to read them so well, and we're going to read them even better and better. At some point, the machine is highly reliable in that kind of thing, and it can see details, it can zoom in resolutions, it just has the ability. Very quickly, a machine can sort out so many different options and narrow down the possibilities and so forth. The machines can do a lot of stuff for us. But at the same time, I think we're not there yet in terms of general intelligence, so that you have a machine that is able to adapt and think on its own. And one of the concerns...
we're not far. I mean, people like Demis Asabi is saying we're going to have the AGI in the next 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's true, although I have a qualification to that, so I'll add it. But I think that's true. I think that... the one caveat I would worry about is this idea that we're creating agents to help us, right? And so, and that's a really good way of thinking about AI is agents that would help us in our decision making. But even that merger between a machine and a person could result in worse results than the machine in itself and the person in itself. And this has been documented, say, for reading X-rays.
Why so?
Because of
the coexistence is not always a positive.
You have to educate the doctors how to use the AI and when to rule out what they see versus what the machine says. It's when the conflict occurs, who's going to be right?
Yeah.
It's not when we agree or when we disagree, when there's a conflict. Who's going to be right? And at what point the doctor dismisses their own confidence about the patient for the machine. But it turns out that if you put a lot of weight on how the machine was trained to think they was trained better than you were,
you will start making interesting point.
Yeah, you start making mistakes. Wow. So it's been documented, right, and on data. So we have to be careful, right? And in my world, I live in a world where I'm only interested in problems that I call safety critical. That is, I'm not really interested in a problem where I give you the wrong recommendation about what shoe to buy, honestly. You know, yes, you buy the shoe, you spend $140, which is not cheap.
It's not the end of the world.
You wear it, it's not very comfortable, you figure out something. Yeah. It's not the end of the world. Yeah. But when we start making mistakes about, false positives and false negatives for patients, that's critical. Yeah. And that's the regime where things have to be taken carefully. So it's not just bring it on. Let's have it advise us. We have to understand how to do this so that we're not making mistakes. Sounds like simple, but now you can scale it up at a much higher level. At what point you abort a self-driving car? At what point do you think that you actually are going to do a better decision? I don't know if you read the history about how Chernobyl happened, and it's there we didn't call it AI, but we call them automatic control systems. And, there was actually a really nice show that was on HBO that covered this. And they did a really nice job describing how, of course, there's many things that led to the problem. But at the end, it was aborting the automatic control system that
so almost people lost the confidence.
And when they did that, that was the mistake.
And they were trusting the machine almost blindly because
but then they stopped.
They started believing that for sure they have a better.
Yeah, but then they stopped and they aborted.
Yeah.
And they went in the manual control and they couldn't handle it, right? So that was a decision. That was a bad decision. But they didn't know how to make that decision. So a lot of these things in the safety critical world I worry about, right? education, of course, we're facing a major thing with language models. It's forcing us to go back and start thinking, what are the fundamentals of education? I mean, we always believe that you have to know how to read and write and speak and do some math.
Yeah.
I mean, how much of that is going to stay, or all of that stuff an LLM will do for you. So what is your skill and what do you bring to the table? And as an old-fashioned person who was educated in a certain way, I would say, well, that must be necessary. But I think people are asking the question, what is really necessary? So we have to evolve. It's bringing power to us. I mean, I have to say that I use ChatGPT for writing reports. I don't use it for writing letters of recommendations, for example, because those are, I have to be me in the letter.
Yeah.
But I don't care about a report.
Yeah.
I'm submitting a report as a summary of the work that we were doing. I just need the report to document everything I need.
Yeah.
So I put all the items and so forth, and I say, create a report, and then I edit it.
Yeah.
And I'm done. So I use it. It speeds up things for me.
Yeah.
It's valuable.
Going back to health and education, how much you see the disruption in the job market? And we picked up the example of the doctor. Is the training of the doctor will completely change? For example, big part of it need to be about the confidence, how to work with the machine. Are we going to see a massive change in the workforce in these sectors?
We will see gradual change.
Gradual change.
I think we will see gradual change.
But it's not going to be a disruption that is painful.
I mean, there may be a disruption in terms of the job market because there will be shifts in jobs. It's not like there will be less jobs, but there will be a shift. Certain things. I mean, you don't remember, you're young. I remember my first assistant typed on a typewriter. Even though I actually wrote my thesis in LaTeX, but when I came here, she was typing.
Yeah.
And she was saying to students, helping them, that she says, I can type your thesis. And I'm telling the students, I'm going to teach you LaTeX. You type your own thesis. Because now you are trained to type and edit at the same time. Not you write on a piece of paper, then someone types it for you. It's a different laborious process. So her job was pushed.
Yeah.
But then other people who can do LaTeX come in and take that job.
Yeah.
So the job shifts.
So you're confident we're going to figure out, basically? There will be a transition, and we will figure out.
There will be so many things that have to be done, but the jobs will shift. And I think anticipating where the job shifts, and this is one of the things we do in the Institute, is this continued education programs. We have these online programs that say, look, you might have been an engineer, you might have been a political scientist, we don't know what you did. Okay, but today you have to know data science.
Yeah.
You have to understand machine learning. You have to understand, what generative AI, and so and you might not be a computer scientist. So we try to teach people how to get up to speed in these fields, and this continued education matters a lot. You can't leave people behind. I mean, you have to kind of and in this adaptation of then the same people now transition their job.
Yeah.
So we're trying to help not kind of lose the job and then give it to somebody else, but we're sort of transition people in the jobs.
We see that the most prominent education technology companies that comes to market now are upskilling, reskilling is a very important. I think still nobody have really cracked the code on this. I mean, you have those big MOOCs, Coursera, but it's still not achieving massive impact at scale.
In the scale, right? That's why I'm a big believer on online education, because I think scale will only only come online. I mean, so like for example, we have a course, it's called Data Science Machine Learning course, and we offer every month. It's a rolling program, and it's a 14-week with
open
projects.
to anyone.
Anyone, yeah. But, no, this is for pay.
This is
because there are mentors and projects and.
But still open for everyone of any field.
Any field. Yeah. There's no assessment versus selection. You can take it. And what we find, so I would say, I don't know how many, 3,000 students take it a year, for example. Because we still are insisting from MIT that this is what we want to teach, and
Yeah.
what we teach is still rigorous and hard.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there are other courses for other people, and I keep saying that we need to sort of launch what I call vocational. People don't like the
Training,
word vocational, but vocational education in computing and AI. We need that, right? So a technician, what does the technician need to know in this field? You know, that my father led. He was an electrical engineer, but he had in Jordan. He was leading the vocational school in electricity.
Yeah.
He was the the director of that program, and they would teach, and I would I see the students. I mean, the students are not engineers, but they know how to fix things better than engineers, right? That was the story. Engineers don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So I think we need that. We need to scale a lot more than what we do, for sure. I agree with you that we're not there yet.
I want to touch upon on the topic of ethics, because there's a huge debate in the society about the data protection, the ethics of how the data will be used. Now that we are entering this world of data, and these machines needs a lot of data, how do we balance the question of ethics, and how people could be reassured that this is the new normal, and we have to accept that not everything is going to be private anymore.
I mean, this is a hard problem to crack, really, and it's not a problem you crack the same way in every country. Every country has a when we talk about ethics in general, it's a moral system. It's not a specific behavior. Certain societies will find some things acceptable, and others will find things unacceptable. And then, of course, there are governments that will find things acceptable and other things not acceptable. So data privacy, who controls the data, how confident are you that your government has your data, all of that stuff is so complicated that you have to kind of work on it in sort of local communities, so to speak. But I mean, sadly, we can't always trust that businesses will always do the right thing with your data, because businesses are predicated on the model of maximizing profit. Not necessarily what is important for you, but what maximizes profit. And so I think that's why I believe regulation is very important. There has to be some regulation and some rules that will prevent you from doing things. In schools, like in colleges, we say you can't cheat. There are rules. You cheat, you get an F. It's a rule. And we proctor, so we regulate, we audit. And if I see two papers that are identical to each other, I bring the two people and say, "Well, how did this happen?" And it prevents maybe 85% of cheating. Maybe not prevent the 15% of, but 85% is good enough, I think. And we say this kind of checks and balance is sufficient for the system to operate well. Not everybody's cheating. Some people always cheat. I can't catch everybody. I'm not going to turn this place into a police state. But I give you an example of ethical issues that are really important and sometimes difficult to understand, but have economic consequences. So, for example, self-driving cars. This was also a story that I mentioned in the book. I think it's interesting. Earlier on, when I think it was Tesla that, it might have been Waymo actually, that dropped the first autonomous driving system, and it was running in San Francisco. There was a kind of a huge activity in social media with the title "Machines Programmed to Kill."
Oh wow!
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because what it is, it's sort of this this different aspect of machines versus us, where the self-driving car has to have an algorithm how to behave in a conflict. And those are the typical trolley problem. Like, do you kill the person in front of you, or do you self-destruct? Or do you choose the child versus 3 older men. Very difficult decisions for us as people to make.
Yeah.
The machine has to be programmed
Yeah.
to do one or the other. So either you can program the machine to say, assess the risk, count the number of heads.
You choose the worst,
Go-
the less
yeah,
worse
it's
scenario.
less worse, which means the child goes.
Yeah.
I mean, we have a heart, that means that you just told this machine to kill the child. Or self-destruct and throw yourself in the river, kind of a thing, right? Yeah. So there are many aspects to this debate that is interesting because, first of all, when was the last time you know of someone who went to get a license and that question was raised to them? What would you do? But why? Do we not care about the answer? We do care about the answer, but we trust that humans will just do whatever they can at the moment and they make a decision, and we don't want to know.
The instinct.
The instinct.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we don't want to, we will, if you were not drunk and you were not doing anything wrong, we'll ultimately forgive you for that mistake.
Interesting.
We'll forgive you because, the braking...
It's not coming from a bad place.
Yeah, not coming from a bad
place. The intention is not,
The braking system failed and you did everything you could
fault,
and something happened, we won't forget the machine. We will not forgive the machine for that, right? So machines are held to a different level of standards. So that's number one. It's really critical. Okay, so now, and there was this research that was done on this problem where people were asked, what would you do? You have a choice, either self-destruct or kill the person in this emergency. It's interesting. Now, different societies, different communities answer the question in different ways. In the United States, the majority said that they'd rather self-destruct than kill the other person. So that was kind of nice, People believe that I'm willing to sacrifice myself instead of it.
Yeah.
But the other twist to this answer is many of these people said they would not buy that car.
Interesting.
That will self-destruct with it. Because it kills them. So they prefer that the car kills them, but they prefer not to buy that car. And that's now what is the implication. So if you did what appears to be the morally correct thing, which is to actually sacrifice the driver, we will have less people buying that car. And we know the benefits of self-driving cars in terms of accidents. So in a sense, the right moral action results in a lot more killing because less self-driving cars, more accidents and more death. So it's not trivial to understand what is the right moral action that you take. There are complicated, nested arguments, and I think we need to engage them in a way that that is reasonable. And there's no crystal ball for what the right answer, but it's important to pose the right questions.
It's fascinating to see how humans are delegating some of these kind of power to the machine and extracting themselves from the responsibility. We're in a interesting world from a geopolitical stand, and a topic like AI, I think it's a topic that should be debated at a global level, because no one owns kind of the latest development, neither the truth in this technology. How do you see, from a human perspective, what will be the ideal scenario to get much better results for all of us instead of this kind of geopolitical tension we're living? Is it reasonable to say yes, we should really talk together, or you're still with a school of thought that let's everyone compete and then at some point we will figure out?
It's not really about being a school of thought. It's what's pragmatic. But we're not going to talk with each other. We haven't, and we're driven by. Right now, we're driven by the big tech companies that are doing all the development. It's not even the political system. It's the economics and the business world. They're driving the development, they're driving the investment, they're driving the solutions, they're pushing for the solutions. Everybody is just lagging behind. So what conversation are we going to have,
No, if you take the two major countries that are...
to have them...
There is a huge conversation on AI, which is China and the US, essentially.
Yeah, kind of like...
but driven by
tension.
the companies, of course.
Tension. There's a lot of tension.
Yeah.
Like TikTok is a great example.
It goes back to the data protection, or it goes back to economic incentive?
Both.
Yeah.
Right? Data could be just a cover for the narrative, and everything's about the economics and who has the upper hand. I don't think really fundamentally industry cares about people's data. Just don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, because they are built on this monetization question. So if I can monetize your data, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. So that's why I believe the protection has to happen. By the way, TikTok in China is very different than TikTok in the US.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
It's way more educational in
right?
China.
It's
and
regulated.
less-
It's fully-
and it's regulated.
Yeah, it's fully regulated, right? And and I would say that, it's funny because I'm all on all of these things because I try to understand what's going on, and TikTok is fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't have a TikTok account and I don't have an X account. I'm one of those who
Yeah.
have been
you're keeping yourself off the grid.
trying.
Yeah. Well, with TikTok, I think what's amazing is, of course, its ability to learn about the kinds of stuff that you like,
Yeah.
and what then it finds for you is fascinating. Fascinating. The kind of stuff I get on TikTok is fascinating, And so the fact that I can be entertained with this machine is to me is sort of, it's the power of what these machines can do. But to answer your question, I think a level of collaboration is needed so that we don't end up in a sort of a major conflicts. If you think about the First and Second World War, I mean, there were development and economic developments and economic tension that led at the end to sort of who's going to control whom and so forth, but that led to wars. We have wars now. It's not like we don't, but we have proxy wars more than we have real wars.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I don't know the answer to the question whether we have mechanisms for collaborations. We don't have real mechanisms for collaboration. On the other hand, local economies and local governments, like for example, you look at Europe, and Europe has put in more rules towards regulating people's data and privacy and so forth than the United States. And a lot of economists argue that these rules are hurting the economy and not helping the people. And we can go through that. I mean, there's a lot of also case studies I can give you where, in fact, not the GDPR, which is the sort of the general data protection regulation that is enacted in Europe, doesn't do a great job in understanding what it means to have my data versus your data.
Yeah.
This whole externality business is lost. And so again, if you want to build in a regulation system, you have to understand all the ins and outs of that. And it's hard because these AI systems keep expanding in the way they operate, and your rules are moving very, very slowly. But at least, as I said, it's kind of 85 versus 15%.
How much? So two questions. One is just your because you are knowledgeable of this field and you're kind of at the forefront. How much when you listen to the Sam Altman, to the Sabi, and all those guys who are extremely eloquent and extremely convincing, when they come on TV and say everything is about to change, like what's the drama or why when we talk about AI it comes with this dramatic shift in our life and society? Is it too alarming?
I don't know if I am alarmed. They are eloquent, and much of what they say, I think, is true and can happen. But the domains, so there are some alarming things.
But
right?
why they make it sound like almost a Black Mirror episode?
Yeah. Black Mirror is not even competing now with the reality, right?
It's incredible. Have you seen the latest?
I haven't seen the latest.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It's not a world that I want to live in, but it's incredible because a lot of the technologies they use in the series are
well, first, I mean, when
away from us.
When Black Mirror started, I mean, it was like a dystopia a little bit, right? And now this will never happen. Now we think it's happening.
Close to the reality.
Yeah. Well, see, I think here is the problem that I have. First of all, I think that industry has the ability to push through whatever solution they have, because like ChatGPT and large language models have dominated now how people are thinking, even though yet we haven't really got the utility out of them that we think we should be, right? So probably work in progress. So for researchers, these are incremental changes. The difference in ChatGPT became accessible,
Yeah.
kind of like search.
Yeah.
When search became accessible, things have changed,
Yeah.
right? When it was only for a few people that can do search, well, that was a different word. So now it's accessible. It's a jump, right?
Yeah.
What am I afraid of? I'm not afraid of a good system. I'm afraid of a mediocre system that scales. A mediocre system where everybody is using it, where the mistakes are happening all the time, but it scales to a point where we cannot actually take it away. That's what scares me. And what we have right now are mediocre systems. We don't have top-notch systems. ChatGPT is a language model. It literally generates words and sentences. Where development in the world, where we're going to cure cancer and neural diseases and discover new material and so forth, has to be in experiments and data. We can't run away from that. Get new data and do the right experiments. So we need to kind of focus to do that. We're not going to do it in a generative AI. I mean, we get there are some benefits for having a generative system telling me something about chemical reactions, because maybe a community in chemistry has done something, another community in material science have done something similar. They didn't know about each other. Guess what? This machine actually finds it. And then now all of a sudden there's accelerated learning. We call federated learning, sort of learning from one group to another group. That's great. I like that. But it's not enough. Like, we are going to hit a wall, and somebody's going to do the experiment that will advance us. And this is the new data, and that's going to be very important. We can't rely on these machines to do everything, and we can't just live in a loop that has all these machines. One is training the other, and the other is training the other, and then some human just sitting in there and deciding, oh, I don't like that answer, please change the prompt. Doesn't feel like that's the way you want to create the development at these scientific problems. But can you use these tools? And the answer is, of course. And are they better tools than we had before? Of course. So but let's not lose track of the fact that at the end of the day, it's just new data that's going to allow us to do the right thing. This can accelerate the search for data, can accelerate the experimentation. A lot of good stuff can happen. But having a system that is mediocre, that is scaling, is my worst nightmare.
Do we have right now mediocre systems that are going mainstream?
So we have, flight management. I mean, right now, what happened with, I don't know to what extent, I'm not an expert in that field, but like, what is it called? CrowdStrike, I think it was that. That piece of software that failed, and then we had a collapse in the whole. See, that was a patch, security patch, that was used by many airlines all at the same time, and when that thing failed, all of them failed. It's this, kind of what we call sort of algorithmic monoculture. The idea that one piece of software embedded everywhere, when it fails, everything fails. If you want to do that, you have to have something that doesn't fail, because you don't want everything to fail at the same time. Otherwise, you need to diversify, to change, so that, okay, maybe one place fails, but not the other fails. So we don't have it in healthcare, but healthcare, of course, is not a great place right now. I would say that there's a lot to be done to improve the processes and so forth. So yeah, I don't know.
But a lot of experts are very optimistic that potentially, thanks to an advanced AI, we could cure a lot of diseases and a lot of.
Yeah, I think that there will be progress.
There's a huge optimism in the field that this is promising.
Yeah, but we have to understand, what is it that we think AI is doing for those diseases, right? So let's think about cancer. What is AI doing to cure cancer? What is it about it? Is it because I can ask GPT, give me another...
That's weak, yeah. That's very weak. But it needs to generate new data, basically.
We need to generate new data. And so I think it's the experts who understand the biology or the genetics, who are sitting in there and saying, okay, how do I actually use these kind of new simulation environments to create potential outcomes, potential experiments that then I can pick from and make a decision. Something like that. It's not like, let's just, it's already solved. It's just you have a new tool. You have a new tool. But we've been having new tools for a while. Machine learning has been coming into the world of, and has been accelerating. understanding, machine learning algorithms, for example, have helped us look at images to predict whether a tumor will form. That's incredible, right? It's done at MIT. So yeah, I mean, tools are going to help us accelerate for sure, but we haven't made the leap yet to say, okay, now it's just a matter of years, and then, we still need to invest a lot of research and people in thinking about these difficult problems.
Were you surprised that with AI we made more progress in the cognitive aspect rather than the robotic and the automation aspect?
Yeah, no, I think that that's what I was saying. I think AI is actually designed to be very good in the cognitive aspect and things that we also find hard.
When everything started,
That wasn't the case.
It wasn't the case.
Well, okay. So when do you want to start? Right? Okay.
We need an episode 2 maybe.
Yeah. Because initially when just mainframe computers existed, the whole question of the Turing machine came in, the Turing test. Is the machine distinguishable from a human brain? People started thinking immediately about the question of what machine is able to do versus what the human brain, and the Turing test of saying that, okay, that can distinguish between. And you have to, the point is that the machine can do adding, subtracting, and multiplication so much faster that that's not a fair way of comparing to a human. So the question about cognitive was right from the beginning, from the first sort of mainframe computers existing for us. But yes, exactly. It's what we find easy, which is robotics, has been very difficult to build. It's sort of counter to what we find hard, which is certain types of algorithmic combinatorial solutions that requires memory, and only certain people can keep that kind of memory in their head and do the computation in their heads. Machines have it easier. So we have that opposite. And with robotics, again, it's going to come down to the amount of data that you're willing to collect on all the different possible scenarios and be able to mimic. Plus, of course, material discovery and flexibility and stability and all of that stuff. Robotics is... Dexterity, right? Yeah. Robotics is a very, very sort of rich area that brings so many different things that we do naturally as humans, right? And so machines are still not doing it very well. I mean, of course, in the particular, I think, for example, assistive surgery, I would foresee that would be a great robotics application, because it's just one thing that the robot has to do, one particular thing, locate a location and go to it, grab something and get out. You can do that with enormous amount of precisions with the right vision system, and you don't have the trembling hand of a person or a mistake and so forth. So some of these particularly direct applications, I think robotics will be also very good for.
This is such a fascinating conversation. I mean, thank you for in simple words and terms, explaining this complex world. If you have to advise, just to finish with what I called Munther's wisdom, to inspire the young generation that are heading in any of these fields, what would you advise them?
Well, I think it's okay. I mean, first of all, I think we need everything. We need all domains, and this is not. If you're an amazing writer, please don't think that ChatGPT is going to take your role. It doesn't. It doesn't. I have produced reports with ChatGPT, and I can tell you. In fact, this is a good example. When I finishing the book, I was in sabbatical last year. And I was just going through, and then now, ChatGPT became, so I would write an essay or part, and then see what would happen if I gave it to ChatGPT and say, rewrite it. And I never liked the outcome from ChatGPT, never liked it. It may be more eloquent than I am. And of course, the mistakes I can fix. That's okay. Mistakes they can fix for me. But maybe a more eloquent, uses better vocabulary and so forth. But it just didn't feel like I'm the one who's talking.
Yeah.
And I think that this is what we need, from writers. The personal experience, your presence, in the story. So, if you're a great writer, you stay as a great writer. Now, the problem, if you're a mediocre writer, maybe that's not the job you're going to do. Right? To be honest.
We're going to elevate all the mediocre writers.
You're going to become a lot better writer than the ChatGPT. I do think that understanding the skills that come from data and computation and so forth really is important in the new era. You have to have some, minimal skills to understand the world around you, the data around you. In almost every field, the data has become critical. So I would advise, we talk about the trilingual student. And that would be sort of my advice to everybody to achieve something like this. You have enough technical expertise. You really are aware of the societal aspect of what you're doing. Yeah. That when you frame the question, it's not always about monetizing an outcome. You don't solve the homelessness problem by monetizing homelessness. It's not going to happen. You have to frame it in a different way to try to solve it. Maybe a social responsibility, maybe a civic responsibility. Understanding the social aspect matters a lot with the technical part. And then really be an expert in a domain. We can't leave the domains. We can't have only computational people trying to solve every single problem. They're not going to. We need the knowledge, understanding how the data is going to be extracted from that domain and so forth. For a young person and for a more advanced person, you do that at the right scale for you. But expertise in a domain matters a lot.
If you start over your journey of when you started studying now with these new technologies, what would you have done differently?
I would study a lot more humanity and social sciences.
Interesting.
Because I did.
So it goes back to understanding philosophy, basically.
Yeah, and understanding people and appreciating the issues with people. I was an applied mathematician essentially, so I got all the technical parts on the side, and I moved in domains, and I spent time learning about domains. And that's kind of possible with the skills that I had to just spend 5 years in one domain. You really learn a lot. But that aspect of understanding people, the psychology, even anthropology and history, put it all together to understand how people think individually and in groups, how we are. It wasn't easy for me. That was the part that kind of like I'm still catching on with. It's not.
It's fascinating that we always go back to that, basically. Always. We're creating all these machines, we're creating all these AI, but it goes down to the human aspect, the philosophy, the purpose.
Yeah. There's nothing without humans for us. Yeah. So I think it's really critical to have that good understanding and appreciation.
And hopefully leaders will understand.
I hope so.
The meaning of the philosophy.
I hope so.
Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Great conversation.
Yeah. Thank you. Enjoyed it.